New Land Beyond surprised me. It might not be the reason to instantly pre-order Edge of Fate or Fate of Edge, honestly I still don't remember the name. But either way, this new snipe is genuinely solid. Quick heads up before we jump in. This isn't my typical build video. This time I went with a more live commentary format. You see me walk through the entire build, explain why I chose each piece, how we could tweak it, and just talk through the process more naturally. Most importantly, this build was made specifically for New Land Beyond. It's not just included in the build, the whole setup was crafted around it. I also tested it in the first section of the HyperNet Current GM. I died, completely my fault, but the weapon and the build actually performed better than I expected in endgame. I show that clip at the end of the video if you want to skip ahead. Alright, let's jump in. Alright, so as said in the intro, this is more of a lifestyle commentary of the build that I made for my New Land Beyond. Since well, I did pay quite a bit for it, so you know I want to use it. This whole build is really about it's literally just about improving this weapon and building around it. Obviously, I could have gone like different exotics. I could have gone, as you already see, I'm using Speedloader Slacks, but to that later. I could have used other exotics to improve the build. For example, give the conviction or something just to get damage resistance. But honestly, I just wanted to build, I wanted to see how well I can build around New Land Beyond. Just to see how much better I can make it. So, obviously, New Land Beyond, Bullseye Holster landing a precision hit substantially increases this weapon's target acquisition, handling, reload speed, and stability for short duration of time. Getting precision hits, easy clap, not only kills, but as well just precision hits, increases handling, reload speed, and so on. So that's pretty decent for a sniper. Scoring precision hits increases his weapon damage until the wielder's defeated. Now, this is pretty good, to be honest, and I have actually run the first section of HyperNet Current GM with this build, and honestly, it performed quite well, to be honest. I not only wanted to use this weapon because I paid a lot for it, but I really wanted to build around it because it's like the first sniper rifle where I actively say I like using it quite a bit. May it be for the different scope, may it be because like the perk is like, not gonna lie, like just really good. But I think just I don't know, it feels very good to use. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like, definitely one strong point is the sight in my opinion. Then definitely the trait is really good. But I don't know, it's just like overall it feels like a really good weapon to use. So this is the loadout for, before I go into the class, I'm going to kind of talk about the selections here. This is the loadout that I used for the HyperNet Current. And honestly, having double special is actually not too bad. Like, to deal with the champions mostly. I used Afterlight just like randomly, to be honest. There was no real reason to use this, except like obviously for these additional damage for the Reservoir Burst, Ambition, Assassin, Overflows, which doesn't really make sense on these two, to be fair, but you know. I just quickly took this, but I am really going into the idea of having a double special. Maybe like an auto-loading host grenade launcher or something like that, but I feel like it's worth going. If I go double special, if you go double special as well, I would definitely suggest going a machine gun that has a lot of ammo. And to be honest, I started loving Pro Memoria with Reconstruction and Bait and Switch because you have 91 in the magazine already. Then with Reconstruction, it goes up to 180, I think, to 182. Yeah, 182. So, and with Bait and Switch, honestly, I think it's a really good, it's like slash good weapon for damaging, slash good weapon for like act clearing and stuff like that. Obviously, you need to get the stacks up, the master stacks up with the New Land Beyond, but sometimes, like, if your ammo gets a bit lower, you do want to get some kills with Pro Memoria to as well trigger fast and quick Special Ammo Finder. Because sometimes there's groups of enemies and you can't just, like, take your time to get headshots, in my opinion. At least that's what I felt like as well by running the GM. I feel like double special is really sustainable, to be honest, on the build. Like, while running the GM, I didn't really run out that much of special. There were a few times where it was a close call, but not too bad. And honestly, you can equip certain things, maybe on your class item, to get, like, special ammo back. So, stat-wise, I feel the mobility is very important to get class ability back, because I will play a lot in class ability. 100 resilience, obviously, as always. Recovery, not too important. I didn't face too much trouble having lower recovery, just because, for example, of having recuperation on. So it's not too necessary. High grenade, because we're going to play into slowing targets to get our class ability back. Intellect and strength for me are always kind of like secondary stats. They're always like on the last page. Like, the most important one are the mobility, resilience, and discipline. Well, at least until they're going to change it with Edge of Fate. Fate of the Edge. I still can't remember how to say it, or how it's called, dude. Okay, you know what? Before going into the armor mods, let's go into the subclass. So, personally, I have been using a lot on every Prismatic build, Shadow, Shot, Deadfall. And quite honestly, like, I wanted to kind of switch it up, because there's so many supers that are actually really good. Even if Silk Strike, for example, would be my first choice, I kind of like it. Haven't used Storm's Edge in a while, haven't used Golden Gun in a while, and Silence and Squall, this as well, a super I haven't used in a while. So I went for Silence and Squall, but considering we're going to go on purple, face it of purpose, going Shadow for Deadfall for the Void Overshield is pretty decent as well, because I do think that the frost armor that you get from Silence and Squall and Face It of Purpose is not that great. I would rather go Silk Strike and Shadow Shot Deadfall. The only thing about Silk Strike, honestly, it just lasts very long. That's the only thing, and you're stuck in it in a sense. I like Silence and Squall, where you cast it and it does its own thing, and you can't go back to getting the master stacks up on New Land Beyond. So that's why I went on Silence and Squall. As well, it does very well with champions, to be fair, like freezes everything, so I think that's pretty good. For the abilities, Gambler's Dodge just to get my melee back. As always, Threaded Spike because of getting the Severin, the 40% debuff. As mentioned before, Duskfield Grenade just to get the freeze up, which is honestly really good. And considering we're going to go the aspect with Winter Shroud, we get like dodging slows nearby targets, and slowing targets briefly increases your class ability regeneration, which is, I think, a 400%. If I remember correctly. So 400% increased base cooldown for class ability, which is pretty good. I was thinking of going Ascension, but at the same time, I don't want to be too close to targets considering I have a sniper rifle. So I went for Threaded Spectre, just to kind of like have this ability to let targets shoot something else while I line up the shot to get a precision hit. Because honestly, I'm decently confident in my sniping abilities to hit the headshots in PvE, but I miss a lot as well. So having this like extra time until Threaded Spectre then explodes to like line up the shot and get the master stacks up, honestly is quite good, to be honest. And honestly, these pair very, very well. You could consider go Withering Blades here too for 2 charges. To be fair, you wouldn't have the debuff of Sever, which I think in high rank content at least is pretty important. So I wouldn't go Withering Blades. In easier content, you could think about go Withering Blades though, to be fair. If my voice, by the way, sounds a bit stuffy, again, my nose is still closed up. So, well, for the fragments, honestly, I had a bit of difficulties for certain fragments, not gonna lie. Like, there are some fragments I'm 100% sure about, like, no doubt about it. But there are certain fragments, for example, like Awakening, that I'm not 100% sure of. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super fine blows generates a mental pickup at the matching damage type. Considering we have the Stram melee, we will create easy tangles, which is not too bad. And it does give plus 10 resilience, which helps us then with the armor. Considering we have Pro Memory as well, it's again tangle energy. But considering we have a Stasis Super, we have Stasis Shards that grant melee energy, which is not too bad either. So I think Faces of Awaken is not too bad. I'm not 100% sure because obviously New Lands Beyond is kinetic. So it's either light or darkness. Like, I tested it out, maybe I tested it wrong, but I tested it out and it doesn't trigger light damage. It has to be elemental. So I'm not 100% sure on this. Like, maybe instead of going Facet of Awakening, I could go something with Facet of Blessing. so I get immediate health regeneration. I could as well go Facet of Ruin, since we're gonna freeze targets easily and it grants 10 mobility. Like, these two could be switched out for Awakening, to be honest. For the second one, Facet of Dawn. Honestly, I think Facet of Dawn is pretty solid. Like, I think you get 5 seconds of Radiant when you hit with your powerful melee, and we do have our melee up quite often, to be honest. So I think Dawn is pretty good, just to give this extra weapon damage to New Lands Beyond as well, while you're building up stacks. I think Radiant was a 20% damage bonus increase, so I think it's pretty solid, to be honest. No question about it, Facet of Solitude, I think, fits perfectly into this, because with New Lands Beyond, we want to get the precision hits, and having this, again, the severing going onto enemies is quite important, I feel like. Like, just the AoE of getting target severed if we didn't throw our melee or something like that, or if we don't have it ready. Like, that 40% minus damage output of enemies is just crazy good. So, Facet of Purpose, as before, it goes well with Silence and Score. Like, we get Frost Armor, it's a little bit of damage reduction. But again, as in Facet of Awakening, I'm not 100% sure about Facet of Purpose. Like, maybe Facet of Blessing might be a better pick. Facet of Ruin could be interesting for more damage output. Maybe actually Facet of Command is not too bad. Freezing or suppressing a target related to equipped weapons increases weapon stability, aim assist, and airborne effectiveness. Actually, this one could not be too bad. Because it's gonna freeze anyway, 100%. We get freezes off because of these two. Because of this one as well, if we dodge close to targets, if we are too close to targets. I might switch it out for Facet of Purpose, but I need to test it a little bit. Then Facet of Protection, I don't, especially in high rank content, I don't want to be too close to targets, obviously, but I feel like it can come in handy. It's 15%, I think, if I remember correctly. Damage resistance if close to 3 targets, minimum 3 targets. And I think it's decent, it's good, like, to have if there are enemies that are close, and sometimes, like, they close in. Facet of Hope is another one that I'm not 100% sure about. We mostly have Radiant, maybe, when we use our melee, and we will have Frost Armor. So this one could actually be changed out. You know what, I might actually change this out with this and try it out. Because we're building about New Lands Beyond, so this fits perfectly, to be honest. I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna overwrite this. I'm gonna see how it does. Okay, for the armor mods, very simple. I went into 2 kinetic siphons because we are using New Lands Beyond to get most of our kills, because we're going to get the stacks up. So personally, I feel like that's a pretty good pick. And then special ammo finder, obviously, to not run out of the ammo. Like, you could maybe think of going, instead of 1 kinetic siphon, if you have enough energy, you could go maybe dynamo. Maybe you could go hands-on. Even though you use it more for debuffing than for kills, but in easier content, hands-on could work. For your arms, heavy-handed, personally, I think is pretty good. Like, getting that extra orb of power if you get the kills. Even in harder content, you can kind of work around of getting the kills. You just need to know how to shoot them and how low to get them. But it could be changed out, to be honest. Something like, I don't know, getting this one, causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown, so getting 2 of these to get your grenade back faster might not sound too bad either. Or getting 2 focusing strikes, that could work as well. On the chest, I really only went damage resistance mods, but you could theoretically go kinetic reserves as well. Considering New Land Beyond needs a lot of ammo, maybe that makes sense instead of going reserves. But as well, like in GMs, for example, in the HyperNet Current, I'm pretty happy to have more resistance on. But it could be interesting to try out with reserve mods. I'm gonna slap one on. I'm very curious to see. Okay, so there are a lot of choices. As I said at the very beginning, there are a lot of choices. I could have gone Gift of Conviction, to be honest, just to like get that Joiled plus damage resistance, and then gone something that applies Joiled as well. But I want to, as I said, I want to build around New Land Beyond and not just make an addition to the build. So I went Speedloader Slacks. Dodging boosts reload speed, handling, and airborne effectiveness for you and nearby allies. So it's kind of like a support as well if you are in a fire team, While the buff is active, final blows and additional dodges increases the buff strength, and refresh timer maxes out at 5 stacks. Let's check this out a bit closer, I'd say. So on class ability use grants 1 tight fit for the wearer and allies within 50 meters for 15 seconds, which 15 seconds is a lot, to be honest. Kills or dodges grant an additional stack up to a maximum of 5 tight fits, and refresh the duration of the buff. So you basically have this up the whole time, because precision kills normally are one shot. You have dodges up mostly. Getting to ×5 is really good. So considering on time 5, 55 reload speed, 55 handling, 50 airborne effectiveness, and honestly I'm not 100% sure about the reload duration multiplier. Now the thing is, I know that by base, New Land Beyond increases target acquisition, handling, and reload speed by itself. But getting that immediate higher handling reload speed, I think is really good. And honestly, there's something about Speedloader Slacks that I personally really like. One is a really good exotic, not only for yourself, but for your allies as well, because it supports. It's easy to proc because you're gonna dodge, you're gonna get kills and stuff like that anyway, and you have 15 seconds for it, which is a lot. So it really boosts quite well, not only New Land Beyond, but as well the other weapons. That is very important. So that's why I feel it's a really good addition to build around New Land Beyond, but as well help the other weapons to make them better. First, I wanted to actually build around Sealed Ahamkara Grasps, because you can get a 35%, if I'm not wrong, damage bonus to weapons. The only thing that I really didn't like about it, it's a 7-second cooldown, which goes down really quickly. Like, it's more than half less from Speedloader Slacks, and you have to constantly switch weapons as well to keep it up. And I don't know. And you need to get a powered melee final blow, which obviously in GM is not always that easy, especially since we are using our melee mainly to debuff as well. So I went away from that. I am kind of sad about it because the 35% damage increase could have been really sick. But at the same time, I wanted to have an exotic that is easy to proc, easy to trigger. I don't need to do too much. Like, I don't need to think, oh my god, I need to switch weapons because otherwise I lose the cooldown. In the GM, there's already so much going on, so I was like, okay. One kinetic weapon surge I think is really good, like plus the radiant, plus this. So per set, that is like a 30%. Like you get 20% from radiant, and then you get another 10% from weapon surge. It might not be a 30% because like I know that damage reduction is calculated in a very specific way. So maybe the buff on weapon damage is calculated in another way as well. So maybe it's not 30, but like you get 10% from weapon surge, and then you get 30% from radiant as well. Innovation, just to get our grenade back quickly, and then recuperation very classically. We don't really have high recovery. We don't have blessing equipped. So I think having this on is pretty good. At 70 health per orb, which honestly, I wasn't sure if I'm going to create a lot of orbs, but testing it in the GM, I actually wasn't creating too little. So I think that's a really good addition. What you could do, you could maybe equip a kinetic scavenger to pick up more ammo for New Lands Beyond, but I feel like this works pretty decently well. Then on class ability, there's a few mods that I tried, there's a few mods that could be changed, to be honest, but I feel like run Reaper, because we're gonna use our dodges a lot anyway, so even though it has a 10-second cooldown if I remember correctly, getting that all of power to then feed into innovation and recuperation and just get our super and stuff like that and get the frost armor is pretty good. So I think like Reaper is a really good addition to it. Then power for the traction, for the reason, like I put 2 mods on because it's 18 meters if I remember correctly. I simply equipped 2 because, as I mentioned before, I don't want to be too close to enemies because I want to have the space to get the precision hits. So that's why I went 2. Theoretically, I could think about, instead of going 2, maybe go something like Special Finisher to get special ammo. Or you could go something like Bomber maybe, to get the grenade back quicker. So yeah, thanks so much for sticking through the whole video. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I didn't just throw New Land Beyond into an existing setup. This build was made for it. and I'm honestly happy with how it turned out. Speedloader Slacks were also a blast to revisit. They look great, feel smooth, and the perk is super simple. Dodge to activate and get kills to stack. It's one of those support that buffs yourselves exotic that feels right when it clicks. If you have a build that's completely centered around New Land Beyond, or even just use it as an add-on, I'd love to know what setup you're running. Drop your loadout in the comments or tag me, I'm generally curious how others are using it. Thanks again for watching, I hope you have a great day, night, evening, morning, afternoon, whatever your time zone is, and hopefully catch you next time.
Is that a Taken Blight? Shadow Legion are forcing Taken into that Vex pocket.
The Vex net uses similar gateways as the Cloud Arc, which means they could infiltrate the network and gain access to the Veil.
Taken are relentless, especially under the Witness's control. We need to get in there and stop them.